I'm Wyatt Cash with FedScoop TV, and we're here today at the Security Through Innovation Summit with Steve Orrin, Chief Technologist with Intel Federal, and here to talk about information sharing, innovation, and security. Welcome.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming by, Steve. First, tell us a little, how big a difference is the passage of the information sharing law that was passed last year? How's that making a difference in your work?
So I think what it's done is it's laid the groundwork for creating the foundation for that information sharing. So there's the notion of information sharing and the need for that has been known for some time. Mm-hmm. And what the passage of the act really did is help lay that groundwork so that we have a structure to start applying technologies and processes and standards to helping organizations actually get over that hurdle. There's both, a lot of the times it's not the technology that gets in the way, mm-hmm. It's the people, process, liability, legal, and contractual obligations, SLAs. And so having a framework sort of lays out thou shalt, mm-hmm. and then allow you to apply the different procedures and policies to that has sort of allowed for the technology to start to shine. And so we're seeing innovations both in some of the standards for the communications platforms, whether it be things like STIX and Taxi, work that Intel Security is doing around the DXL message bus, ways to take those technologies to do information sharing, now have the framework to actually get the agencies and industry to working together mm-hmm. to accomplish that goal. So I think it's laid a lot of the foundation to allow organizations to feel more comfortable with information sharing. It's also sparked conversations at the right parts of the organization. It's not a technical problem. You need the legal, the general counsel, you need the financial office, you need the board talking about information sharing to really have an organization be able to do that mm-hmm.
And
be able to do it in a way that works for both sides. And so that laying that framework is really what helped organizations get the right conversations in the right parts of the organization.
That makes sense. So I understand you've moved from Sunnyvale to Virginia. Welcome to Virginia and the Beltway. Tell us a little about what maybe are some of the distinguishing features of the federal government as a customer compared to sort of your broader sense for the customers that Intel works with.
So I think there's two key areas that make the government unique, besides the obvious one, which is the scale. The government has lots of data, has lots of users. Mm-hmm. Just pick on the healthcare side of it. It's got the largest insurer mm-hmm. and healthcare provider all in one place. So the scale is definitely something that makes government interesting from a technology perspective. Mm-hmm. But what some of the unique things, there's two sides of this. It's the kinds of threats that the government has to deal with mm-hmm. from a security perspective are at the nation state level. They're much more sophisticated, targeted, stealthy, and persistent, and the diffusion of that threat. And so it's not that we're just going to go try to solve the government's problem and then we're done. What's exciting about it is that if we solve it for the government, those same threats will make their way to the industry eventually, mm-hmm. Sometimes faster than others. And being able to solve it for the government, it means that we can also solve it for the broader industry. So that when you see something really a nasty kind of threat in a government space, eventually the healthcare providers, the insurance companies, the financial services will see similar kinds of threats that diffuses to the broader, almost commoditizing the threats. And so mm-hmm. if you can build the mechanisms to protect now for where they're targeted, it helps in the broad scale as well. The flip side is also true. The government has stronger security requirements than most general organizations in the private sector. Mm-hmm. Even financial services doesn't necessarily compare to the level of scrutiny and data segregation and so forth that has to happen in federal. But as the threatscape keeps growing, as we saw from Chris Young's talk this morning, that over the last 10 years, it's been orders of magnitude the number of malware variants mm-hmm. that we're seeing. So as that threat becomes unbearable, the types of technologies and processes and procedures that we're putting into place for federal customers are going to benefit the rest of the private sector as well. They're going to be able to take advantage of those technologies in their commercial products, just like we're selling to the government, just like we're helping the government to innovate with. Mm-hmm. So both sides are important. As we're learning the stuff and seeing the stuff before it hits the broad market, but we're also building systems that are going to help the broader market. We get it right for the government, we'll get it right for everyone else.
Let's hope so.
Absolutely.
Finally, what are some of the most fertile areas for innovation in security today?
I think one of the more exciting things right now is analytics and how analytics is going to change the game across the board. Analytics is a buzzword. Everyone's talking about it, whether they're talking about big data, they're talking analytics, they're talking machine learning. But really, when you start to apply those capabilities to the threat intelligence problem, to the security problem, it changes the game of the kind of information that you can get. Now we can start to look at trend series data across large amounts of data from multiple sources and provide these really interesting analytics to find those weird behaviors and catch them quicker. And as analytic systems become better, we'll see that the infrastructure for doing threat intelligence will come better. We'll have common frameworks for communicating threat intelligence that's been gathered through those analytics models. And I think one of the more interesting fertile areas that I've seen in recent times is what I call the cross-domain benefit. So there's analytics models and algorithms and data science behind how you do climatology or genetics and genomics, or how you do sort of logistics management. And those models work really well for those particular domains. But when you start taking the best knowledge from those domains and applying it to other places, that's where you see this orders of magnitude better intelligence coming. A good example is if you look at sort of the problem space, let's say, of climate modeling, and you look at genomics. A climate model, you're looking at trend series of data across long periods of time and trying to find the subtle changes, subtle differences to be able to do prediction. In the genomic space, you're looking for a needle in a needle stack. You're trying to find that one mutation amongst a bunch of other mutations that cause that cancerous aberration. Well, in threat intelligence, we're really looking at the same kind of problem. We have lots of data that we can't tell what's good, what's bad behavior, and we need to be able to look at it across large series of time. So we're looking for needles and needle sacks across long series of time. So taking the best of breed of what was applied to those other domains and applying it to threat intelligence, we're starting to see 10 times faster behavior analysis coming from those kind of analytics models and much more accurate data when you leverage what other domains are doing. And so that cross-pollination is really going to be one of the exciting things in the analytics space. And then the other area of fertile is a fertile innovation that we're seeing is looking at the full stack. So a lot of security products and technologies over the last number of years have really looked at, well, I've got a software thing that's going to solve this problem.
Yes.
And what we're seeing, a lot of innovation around the integration of different tools into a comprehensive story, whether it be a software-defined as sort of driving automation, or being able to look at a full stack problem. So it's not just a malware problem or a network security problem or a web gateway problem. It's a problem, and how do I get the indicators of compromise across all of those different vectors? And the last mile is that then looking at the hardware that you're running on and seeing what value it can provide, whether it's performance benefit to make the security tools work faster, provide security mechanisms at speed or at scale, as well as leveraging some of the intrinsic hardware security mechanisms to make the platform more secure out of the gate. And we're seeing that sort of full stack approach now for not only the security tools, but also how you apply them so that you can get encryption at speed. Leveraging hardware acceleration as an example. So they're taking advantage of the hardware you have or the hardware you're buying to not just make your applications run better, but make security run better. I think that's one of the key areas of innovation we're seeing.
Well, those both sound like exciting areas, and wish you good luck with your continued work on that. We need
Thank you.
it.
Thank you very
to keep
much.
those bad guys at least on their toes.
Absolutely.
We won't keep them away, but we'll keep them on their toes. Well, thank you for being with us, Steve.